Hello everyone and welcome back guys to episode 2 of my Gran Turismo Sport Road to Rank here. So once again we are back in the Lamborghini Huracan GT4 car here at the Nürburgring. A really good combo in my personal opinion. In the background currently is just my new PB for this series. Now I'm not too sure actually, I need to have a look on the calendar, you know, for when the track combos and things change, because honestly at the time of recording this I don't actually know all too well, and you know I really want to try and make sure, you know, it's not just, you know, the same sort of thing 4 videos in a row and then obviously we move on to a different combination. So I might try some different combos at some point down the line as well, but this was recorded on the next day from the first video that you would have seen. I think went up last Friday. Obviously now is the Monday, if I've been able to schedule this correctly, but obviously since then, you know, I was really starting, you know, enjoying GT Sport. This was actually done in the day, so not I think it was about 11:30 midnight on the night, so obviously I was a little bit more awake, and well, it basically meant that, you know, I had a huge improvement on my pace overall, and I was looking hopefully, you know, to try and claim, I think I would say my first victory, but if I'm not mistaken I was actually able to win one race before in the Mazda MX-5s around one of the ovals, just, you know, very early on this game. So obviously now we're talking about sort of like a proper race, if you will, because, well, oval racing and those things was pretty easy. You just hold the inside line absolutely everywhere and then no one can really do anything against you. But this lap overall felt quite good. There was a little bit of a mistake there. I think it was around a 2:06.4, which I think really on, you know, if I got a really good lap in, I could probably be around a high 5, which, you know, considering I've only been playing this game at this point for less than a day, again in about 2 months, you know, I was pretty happy to be about 2.5-3 seconds off the world record, obviously, as well as the fact this car isn't the fastest one in this class either. So, you know, I was feeling quite happy with my pace overall on the whole. So, you know, obviously really looking to try and get back into this game even more. You know, it's always quite nice, you know, once you get back into something that you still do enjoy it a whole lot. As we come out through the final corner though, and down towards the line, it is going to be a 2:06.4. Yeah, so I was right there. So that overall was a very good lap. Unfortunately, I couldn't improve on that. I think I finished 15 thousandths off in my final run, but it was actually good enough for pole by 0.8 of a second there, which I will certainly take quite happily here. And obviously now it's just a case of not bottling this race on the whole. You know, trying to make sure that we can lead comfortably, gain a lot of safety rating. The other aim for this race, you know, was actually to try and make sure I didn't get a penalty whatsoever. But 2 Huracans actually at the front of this field. I think we got 5 or 6 in this race on the whole, but as I said, you know, we'll pole by 0.8 of a second. It was going to be quite a bottle if we weren't going to win this race on the whole. But in starting this race then on the auto drive, obviously getting cycled up, ready to start this race around the Nürburgring, 9 laps. Once again, exactly the same race format as the first video you guys would have seen from this series, but it's lights out and away we go there. Make sure we try and get off to a decent start. Obviously Huracan behind me, you know, there's not really too much risk that he'll be able to get a hugely better start than me. The Huracan actually, in my opinion, is one of the best starters on this track. But down in towards turn 1 though, we're going to break nice and late. Make sure we take sort of a semi-defensive line there. There's actually a bit of dive bombing just behind me there, as you can see. I've moved the camera for this time so you can now actually see the radar as well, which is something that I really wanted to sort out from episode 1. But yeah, that means now we sort of get a little bit more insight into this game, you know, get to know why I've suddenly turned out of a corner, you know, because there's some idiot that's dived it up my inside there. But through the first couple of corners they're doing absolutely I needed to there to keep it nice and comfortably in the lead of this race. You know, absolutely critical off the start that we just really push over these first couple of laps, try to build myself up a bit of a margin, so, you know, if we do make a mistake, or even when obviously the pit stop window does actually come around as well, you know, we've got that little bit of extra track space. We really need to try and make sure that obviously everything works out in my favour in this race. You know, we've comfortably got the pace. We don't need to try and make this any more difficult than we absolutely need it to be in this race. You can see coming out the head, we've already got a 2.2 second lead over absolutely anyone else, which is certainly, I've had worse starts to races. Obviously, for those of you that saw the first episode, that was quite possibly one of the worst starts I think I've ever made on, you know, in many competitive races. You know, it was absolutely shocking on the whole. But, you know, that's always the way you come into a game. You want to be careful on your first race. You don't know what the consequences will be. But coming now down out on to the back straight here, we've built up that gap to 2.5 seconds near enough now, and, you know, picking up those safety ratings. I think you know, we're close to the top of D class in terms of our driver rating, and then we're also close to A class on our safety rating. So potentially, you know, we could get those two up in this video if you know, obviously, if this race all runs smoothly. But coming now down in towards the final corner and nearly a 3-second lead after the first lap of this race. We'll see really good from myself. You know, really happy with that start to this race. And now the aim was obviously just to hold on to it quite comfortably throughout the entirety of this race. You know, it shouldn't be too much of pressure from the guys behind there. As you can see by the end, oh well, I say by the end, but halfway around lap 5, we built up that gap to about 6.5 seconds now, as we're ready to come in for my one and only pit stop of the race. So 2 minute 8.0 actually is my PB so far from this race, if I'm not mistaken, a fractionally better than I've been able to do in the last video as well. So obviously nice to see, you know, we were still making positive progress in these races there. But diving it down into the pit lane then, obviously the second half of this race where we look to try and beat my PB as well. Obviously on fresher tyres, less fuel on the whole. But go on once again, obviously you're only allowed racing cards on here. I think it's 8 times tyres and then 7 times fuel in this racing, but I might have got those numbers ever so slightly wrong. But actually not too many people diving into the pit lane at the start of this race. You know, a couple of guys trying to go that 1 lap longer, so we might find ourselves coming out in just a tiny bit of traffic there. We're going to gamble it a bit more on the fuel this time. Going to stick, well, 69 litres supposedly in the car there. And we're actually going to come out in, I think, P4 of this race. You can see, yeah, one Mitsubishi flies around my outside down in towards turn 1 there. Trying to make sure, you know, we don't completely dive bomb him. Just have visions of myself locking at the front brakes or whatever, and then just slaughtering a Mitsubishi through the first couple of corners. But now it's absolutely critical, you know, that we try and keep it clean, you know, trying to get past these guys. Obviously, we're a huge amount quicker. We don't need to take too many risks there. See, as he just makes a little bit of a mistake in through that corner there. We're going to go for the switchback move on the exit here, and it's going to be actually a fairly textbook move from myself. You know, it was capitalised on the slower driver there. And now we move back up into P3 of this race here. So not losing out too much time from the first car there. You know, this lobby was far cleaner than the other one. Well, for me personally anyway. Obviously, you don't, I think people underestimate the power of qualifying on this sim, or this game even, obviously, because if you can qualify in pole and get through the first couple of corners absolutely fine, you really should be very comfortable. So quite a change from obviously the first race. You know, the first race, it was, on the whole, carnage is probably the best way to describe it. But obviously we were able to get through fairly cleanly on the whole from that race. So obviously we were quite happy in the end with that result. Obviously going from P6 all the way down to P12, and then I think by the end we were P4 in that race. But obviously this one, you know, we just want to try and take home the race victory there. The Mitsubishi, once again, just ahead of me there. The Mitsubishis, I think, are one of the fastest cars in this class, hence why a lot of people are going with it. But the South African just in front of me there, going to pull to the inside, not going to give me too much, you know, worry as we come through in towards the, obviously the long back straight. I'm not too sure if I cut him off there. The radar suggests, you know, that I was cleanly ahead of him, but, you know, I might have been a little bit wrong. He thinks about going for a move down the inside in through the final chicane there, but not able to make that work. But yeah, we're back up into P2. The leader is now back into the pit lane as well, which is obviously really ideal as well. You know, not going to go for some ridiculously long OP strategy or anything like that. So we will re-inherit the lead of this race there, which obviously was really good for myself. Hopefully this lap as well, you know, we can try and set the fastest lap, you know, build up a bit more confidence on this game, because although, you know, I'd had a good couple of races, I still wasn't feeling, you know, right there. You know, I was still not feeling all too confident on the whole. But, you know, only taking race victories, taking strong results, you know, keeping it clean is the best way to combat that. And as now we move on to the end of a lap 9, well, it was a fairly textbook race on the whole for myself. Set a new PB of a 2 minute 7.212 there. Got to get those numbers in somehow on the whole. So as we come now down in towards the final chicane of this race, really happy with how this race has gone on the whole as we come through in towards the final hairpin. Well, our first proper, well, I'm going to say our first proper race victory, obviously the first race victory of this series as well, which obviously I'm really happy with. Hopefully, you know, it's the first of many on this game, but obviously, hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video as well. We'll have a look in a second as for the final race results, as well as, you know, how much rating we've hopefully gained in terms of this race. Now, I'd like to think, obviously, we kept it completely clean. As you can see there, no red dot on the penalty. I think it was only, you know, three of us even. Sorry, no, it was 4. Sorry, I can't count anymore, it appears. Yeah, 4 of us in the 13 that finished actually, kept it all the way clean throughout. So obviously really, really important that you do that, because as I said in the first one, you do actually get a huge credit bonus on the whole. But able to win that race by 19.9 seconds by the end. Third place actually came through 30 seconds behind there. You can see actually quite close between a few of the Evos there. Hurricanes and Evos locking out at the front, and then Renault Megans and a couple of other random little choices towards the rear of the field there. But yeah, very, very happy with that race. Pulled out just over, I think it was about 2.2, 2.3 seconds a lap over the guys behind me there. So I will certainly take that at the end of that race. Very, very happy with that result. 9th and 10th finishing a minute behind, so they were losing out on average 7 seconds a lap nearly in that race, which is probably, not too ideal, but obviously I'd like to think I'm pretty quick in these sorts of things. I'm usually, hopefully, I feel like I'm someone that can adapt fairly well to these different races. But it is going to be victory then, taking that winner's trophy there. My second ever win on GT Sport. Pole position, fastest lap, and an entirely clean race as well as the race victory. So very, very happy with that result on the whole. Certainly not going to complain about that one there in the end. You can see getting a 50% bonus there, so 150,000 credits, 1,500 XP, as well as I actually achieved my daily workout as well. So almost rank 24 on this game as well. Maybe have to do a road to rank 50 on Gran Turismo Sport. But as you can see there, we've actually been able to get my safety rating all the way up to A there. Really, really happy. Obviously, an entirely clean race you'd expect, so a lot of people gaining quite a bit of safety rating from that race. We'll also have a quick check of my driver rating now. Hopefully, we're getting closer to that C license, but obviously just before that, we got the daily workout. You've received a gift car. I think it was the Mercedes that at the back, so the AMG GTS at the moment, which is an alright car. I was able to win the F1 car the night before, which I was very, very happy with as well. But, like to expand my game, car garage. So obviously very, very happy with that. But in terms then of my new driver rating, then we are very, very close to a C license, as you can see. Hopefully we're going to be able to achieve that in the next episode. We're also a Ruby driver on this game, not too sure what that means on the whole. But thank you all so much for watching episode 2 of my Road to Rank S. Make sure you like and subscribe. Unfortunately, not the most exciting race, but still, really wanted to show off my first win on recording. But as I said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for a brand new video.